Lord, why are you silent? Why do you hide your face when I am in the fire? Why do you whisper when the storm screams louder than my prayers? I've cried, I've fought, I've stood faithful, and yet heaven seems still. But hear me. His silence is not absence. His stillness is not neglect. The silence of God is the forge of the faithful. It is the test that separates believers from beggars. Because when God is silent, he is not gone. He is watching what you do without instruction. You want the voice of God, but you haven't obeyed the last thing he told you. You want direction, but you've abandoned discipline. You want answers, but you can't endure his silence long enough to grow. You think silence is punishment. It's training. He's teaching you to walk by faith, not by sight. When the teacher is silent, the student is taking the test. And some of you are in your examination season. The silence you feel is not rejection. It's refinement. God is measuring your endurance, your integrity, your trust when nothing makes sense. Because when you can't hear him, he's building your ability to remember him. When he hides his face, he's building your faith. When heaven closes its mouth, it opens your spirit. He is not ignoring you. He's instructing you through experience. You say, Lord, speak to me. And heaven says, I already have. Through your suffering, through your delay, through your struggle, every unanswered prayer is shaping the discipline of your soul. Do you not understand? Faith is not proven in answered prayers. It's proven in silence. Faith is not when you hear God. It's when you trust him when he says nothing. Faith is standing in the dark with no guarantee, no sign, no miracle, and still whispering, I believe. God's silence is a mirror. It reveals what's inside you. If you crumble, it shows your faith was in comfort, not in Christ. If you stand, it shows your roots go deeper than your emotions. Because God is not raising spoiled children, he is building soldiers. And soldiers are not trained in comfort. They are trained in quiet pain. He lets you face darkness, so you learn to become light. He lets you walk through confusion, so you learn to depend on conviction. He lets you feel alone, so you'll realize he was never just beside you, he was within you. The silence of God is sacred. It's the crucible where weak men become warriors. It's where your flesh dies and your spirit rises. It's where tears become strength, and where obedience becomes your only language. You're not being ignored, you're being purified. You're not being forgotten, you're being fortified. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. He is silent, not because he has nothing to say, but because he's saying, do you trust me even when I don't speak? Can you still worship when heaven is quiet? Can you still praise when nothing changes? Can you still walk when you don't see the path? That's real faith. That's warrior faith. That's stoic faith. Every silence is an invitation to endure without explanation, to keep your sword sharp even when there's no battle cry, to keep building even when you don't hear well done. Because if your faith only lives on noise, it will die in silence. When heaven speaks, anyone can believe. But when heaven is silent, only the chosen endure. Only the disciplined remain. Only the ones who have trained their soul to trust beyond emotion can stand. You ask, Lord, where are you? And he answers in silence, I'm where I've always been, on the throne. You say, why are you quiet? And he says, because I'm building something in you that words can't explain. God's silence is not the end. It's the interval before breakthrough. The gap between promise and fulfillment, the breath before the roar, the stillness before the earthquake. If he's quiet, it's because he's working. The seed grows in silence. The sun rises without sound. And destiny develops in the quiet places of pain. Don't mistake his silence for absence. Don't mistake delay for denial. Don't mistake stillness for stagnation. He is speaking through the very silence you're resenting. So stay faithful. When you can't hear him, obey him anyway. When you can't feel him, trust him anyway. When you can't see the plan, walk the path anyway. Because faith that only works in light is not faith, it's convenience. Remember this, the same God who spoke to Moses in fire spoke to Elijah in a whisper. And sometimes the whisper stops, so your faith can start. You don't need a sign, you need stamina. You don't need noise, you need trust. You don't need to hear his voice, you need to remember his promise. And one day, when the silence ends, you'll understand. He was never quiet. He was crafting your strength. He was teaching you to stand when no one clapped, to believe when no one saw, and to endure when nothing made sense. So when heaven is silent, stay still. When you hear nothing, keep moving. When it feels like God left, remember He's closer than breath. The silence is not empty. It's sacred. It's where faith matures, where character is forged, and where purpose is purified. So lift your head, wipe your tears. He hasn't forsaken you. He's forming you. And when He speaks again, you'll realize that silence was His greatest sermon. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Stay faithful, stay disciplined, stay unshakable in the silence.